You work hard, you take care of yourself, you're smart, thoughtful, and you're not a mess. But when it comes to dating, you feel invisible. Or worse, you feel like no one sees your value at all. And if you're an Asian American guy, you probably know what I mean. So why does dating feel so broken even when you feel like you're doing everything right? Well, let's break it down. I'm Jackie Ma, and I help make social success feel natural for Asian men. That means building real-world confidence and attracting women without relying on dating apps or pickup tactics. So if you're someone who's competent in most areas of life, but dating still feels like a constant frustration, you're not alone, and you're not broken. This video is the first in a series that will show you exactly why dating has felt so off and what we can do about it. So let's start with the obvious. Asian men consistently rank the lowest in match rates on dating apps. It's been proven in multiple studies: Tinder, OkCupid, Hinge. The numbers don't lie. You've probably felt this even if you haven't seen the numbers. And most people just don't get it. Being in the US or Western countries make it even more pronounced. If you're still on dating apps, start paying attention to how you feel after just 10 minutes of swiping. Do you feel anxious or bitter or drained? That might just be your nervous system and your intuition telling you that something's off. But it's not just the apps. There's something deeper if you're an Asian American guy. You were probably raised in a household with strong Eastern values. Maybe your parents or grandparents immigrated from China or Vietnam or Korea, the Philippines, or Japan. And in these cultures, dating is typically private and subtle and modest and based on duty or timing. And while you may have lived in the Western world the majority of your life, you were raised with the values that you're not supposed to be direct or expressive or flirtatious even. But in the modern Western dating, it rewards the exact opposite. It rewards playfulness, emotional expression, flirtatiousness, and confidence. So you're playing chess with people who are, dancing salsa. So on top of that, media rarely shows us as desirable. Yes, there was Crazy Rich Asians, but that movie highlights the tension between Eastern influence and Western dating. So more commonly, we grew up with stereotypes of Asians being nerdy, emasculated, and, background characters, right? Or straight up tiny but mighty martial artists. My girlfriend actually introduced me to an interesting show that kind of explores this shared cultural experience called Interior Chinatown. Don't get me wrong, my parents have passed down a lot of wisdom that I think makes me a kinder and better person. And some traditional stuff like offering my food first before I eat, greeting people with titles, helping elders when I can, and just really listening before, responding. But the extent of dating advice I got from my mom was that you can always get another partner, but you only ever get one mom. So for the average experience, most parents don't talk about dating at all. Maybe they even discourage it until after school. Maybe they never modeled emotional expression because, let's be real, most old school Asians find PDA childish and potentially even disrespectful. So if your parents are more chill, it's still likely that their parents still ingrained that belief in them. And now maybe you're in your 20s, 30s, or even older, and you're expected to lead, charm, escalate, and connect with virtually zero reps. Not quite the recipe for natural success, but it is the reality of the cultural conditioning that most of us face. So you did what made sense. You focused on school, on your work, on your health, on being a good person, right? You did everything quote unquote right. But dating doesn't reward you for that. It rewards connection. It rewards energy and emotional calibration. And if you don't know how to signal that value in real interactions, you stay invisible. So let me be clear. The things that made you successful in school or your job or the gym won't automatically make you successful in dating. They will help. But the big lie everyone's convinced to believe is that dating is a resume game. But in reality, it's much more of an emotional game. If this isn't 100% clear, don't worry, I'll explain this more in detail later in the series. But put very simply, it's hard to win at dating if you're training for the wrong game. Now, let's talk about why this actually matters. A Harvard study followed over 700 men for more than 75 years, and it tracked health, happiness, success, and fulfillment. And what they discovered about the number one predictor of lifelong happiness? It's not money, it's not fame, not even fitness. It was the quality of their close relationships. Guys who had good romantic and social relationships were healthier, lived longer, and were far more fulfilled. And loneliness, it was as damaging as smoking or alcoholism. So if you've been trying to numb your dating problem with work, money, or fitness, understand this. No amount of success will replace the need to be seen, loved, and understood. And as you get older, your social circle shrinks. You spend less time with friends, less with family, less in groups, and you spend more and more time with one person, your romantic partner, or no one at all. And that's not trying to be dramatic, that's just the data, right? Time use studies have showed that by your 30s and 40s, your partner becomes the person you share most of your waking life with. So if you don't build that connection intentionally, you risk waking up one day successful by every other metric, but alone, with no one to share it with, getting what you thought you wanted at the cost of what you needed. If dating feels broken for you, you're not crazy. You were raised to be quiet in a world that rewards expression. You were told to be humble in a dating market that rewards presence, and you were taught to wait in a game that rewards action. It's not your fault. But now that you know, it is a responsibility. And if you wait, you risk building a life no one gets to share with you. Not because you weren't worthy of love, but because you never learned how to build it. And that's what we're going to be changing in this series. So in this next video, I'm going to show you why dating apps are keeping you stuck and why they're one of the worst places for Asian men to build real connection. We're just getting started, and I'll see you there.